and I'm at the ST Engineering InnoTech 2023 here in Singapore at Marina Bay Sands. And today I'm very pleased and very privileged to have Yigal Unna, who is the former Director General of the Israel National Cyber Directorate. And he will be joining us talking about his extensive experience in cybersecurity and also the innovations and how these innovations are accelerating some of these cybersecurity threats or decelerating it. So thank you very much for your time today.
My pleasure.
Thank you. So let's start with two topics. AI, of course, that gets everybody excited nowadays, and blockchain. So blockchain, right, everybody say, right, decentralized technologies, right? And then so it will help to address or mitigate this single point of failure that we see in our existing digital infrastructure. So how much of it is a hype?
Well, I think it started as a hype, for sure. But we see already, and we got used to, cryptocurrency.
That's right.
For example. Now, cryptocurrency is a huge player in today's global economy and trade. Unfortunately, also with the ransomware payments. The ransomware attacks are based on crypto, are based on blockchain. I mention that because it's example, unfortunately, also with the dark side of good turning of application of hype of a new IT technology into something that is traded, is something that is used, something that gets into the bloodstream of global everything. And I'm also proud to be part of Security Matters, the Israeli Singapore-based company that take the blockchain and put it on single molecules. That you can deal with the supply chain validation and sustainability, waste control, and things like that you couldn't do without this technology.
Right.
So we see more and more applications of blockchain and less the use of the term blockchain itself. So it's getting into what we need in our daily lives.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing.
That's right, yeah. I think one hurdle for a lot of businesses adopting blockchain is we tie ourselves up into explaining what the technology means rather than the benefits it brings to commercial businesses. So of course we hear a lot also about all these cybersecurity attacks or rather cyber attacks on crypto exchanges, on crypto wallets, on the smart contracts, programming vulnerabilities. So there's a lot of cybersecurity issues in blockchain, and I think we need to address a lot of them before we actually can sort of progress beyond where we are today.
Like any new technology.
That's right.
In this case, it's only about money, which is also a huge thing. But imagine all the new technologies in history, from maritime to airplanes and aviation. All new technologies comes with the hazards, with risks.
Of course,
that
yes,
it takes
that's
time, technology to turn it into more safe and more secure, safety or security wise. Yes, and this is also the case in blockchain, and this will also be the case in AI and any new technology.
That's right.
We need to learn from history, even count history of technologies, of how it works, and not to be too afraid. Yes, there will be early adopters and more slower adopters to any new technology. But look at the NFT. NFT was a big hype and buzz. Now nobody talk about it, but it's also related to how to secure or how to define a specific asset, virtual, digital, non-tangible asset in this world, which is a huge step for virtualization, for managing our data, our knowledge in a better way. So it's all bricks on the bricks in a big fortress or a big building that mankind are building.
Yeah, I think NFT really brought to people's minds about the fantastic opportunity that blockchain can provide in terms of securing the ownership rights that you have over your physical assets and allowing it to be traded. I think that really gives people the imagination to think how it can be possibly applied to our future lives. But I think we're still in a very early stage, and given the current valuation of cryptocurrency nowadays, I think the hype is a little bit less of a hype nowadays.
Nature of hype, yes. It's like a wave, up and down.
So
but blockchain will be here to stay with more safeguards, more technology, more applicable aspects that we now learn and understand. This is here to stay. This hype, I believe.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, great to hear. I think a lot of people are kind of thinking, let's just move on to AI then. Forget about blockchain. So talking about hype now, we are now into this AI. Some people call it the AI era, the new era. You know, a lot of sort of terms that you can apply to what we are experiencing with ChatGPT and all that, right? And you mentioned in your talk, you mentioned about, you know, if we look at, say, for example, the Russian-Ukraine conflict and the rise of ransomware. You talk about supply chain attacks, which we see a lot during COVID. You also talk about election interference, which is quite timely given that in Singapore we just had our presidential election just last week. So a lot of issues that you brought up in terms of cyber threats. And of course you talk about AI and potential disinformation or misinformation. And I'd like to ask you, because a lot of people say that it will become a very powerful weapon in the hands of malicious threat actors. They don't need to go and, I guess, to the dark web to buy ransomware anymore. They can actually perhaps write one, use it with a little bit of help with ChatGPT. So I'd like to get your thoughts. Are we at the height of fear mongering when it comes to all these potential cyber attacks?
I would always recommend to leave fear aside when we talk of emerging technologies. Any new technology brings uncertainty and speculations, and it comes with the human emotions of fear of the unknown. I strongly believe, and just learn from history. Again, I'm a history fan. Any new thing after the first shock of fear and enthusiasm, if it works, and AI, I'll elaborate, is high potential technology, it will be here to stay. Mankind will build safeguards, will build securities or measures how to secure it from abuses. To extent, any technology will always be a victim to be abused by bad guys. But if it brings enough, let's say, results or efficiency or goodness to mankind in all aspects, then it will prevail at the end. We just need to, like fire, the first technology probably. How to light fire yourself and not wait for lightning to happen. Yes, it causes millions of casualties all around history. But we still use it. We learn how to manage it.
We learn how to control it, of course, yes.
And AI is not different. It's not different. So we need, the problem is pace. In our age, in the IT era, sometimes, and maybe this is the case of AI, the technology runs a little too fast than the countermeasures or the security measures that need to be accompanied with. And that can be disastrous, not for the poor victims, but also for mankind, because the goodness or the advantages of such a technology may be delayed or postponed or even discarded because of fears or catastrophes that may happen because of abuse. And I'm not talking about people abuse. The biggest fear, I think, in AI, for the first time in human history, is that the machines will start to become dangerous to us.
But the machines are, at the end of the day, controlled by humans.
Not with the AI. AI is the first time that you see machines taking over control.
Can you elaborate more on that?
Well, you see a few examples that are not too published because of understandable tendency by the developers, but all with the developing, for example, AI talking to another AI developing their own language that people cannot understand, and communicating in a not understandable language between them.
I remember watching that in a Hollywood movie once.
Unfortunately, many things that happen in the Hollywood movies, except Time Machine, which may be the next technology, happen in real life. And we saw that in other cases, in at least 2 cases that are reported. Maybe there are more that are not reported, that the computers begin to communicate intelligent computers,
Wow.
and what they're talking about and what they're planning and what they can do, we don't know. So they were shut down. We still have electricity
Exactly, we can just shut it down at the end of the day, can't we?
today, but we can think of scenarios that the computers will not
Distribute
allow.
themselves.
Exactly. Decentralization, you mentioned, blockchain. So yes, it's a dangerous times. Still, mankind is smarter and wiser than the machines we invent. But it may not be the case in the coming years or months if we are not too careful. And again, people versus people is something that mankind know how to absorb, even in the darkest times of the 20th century, and to prevail goodness against badness. But with computers, that's something that mankind haven't witnessed yet. And we need to think more and to build more constraints and more protocols and more ethical things that it will not deteriorate, because it can be, in some scenarios, a whole different game changer.
You talk about partnerships in your keynote as well as a way to, build cybersecurity protocols and policies. How can we apply, and how should we apply to the latest AI emerging issues that you just talked about?
That's exactly one of the major points that need to be done, and I'm not sure it's done yet, that governments, at the end, they are representing the people, should do more about how to manage it. Now, governments, some rogue governments say, okay, we'll do whatever we want. That's one problem. The other problem is governments are slow. I worked 30 years in the government. I can talk freely about the speed of government. In most of the cases, slower than the private sector, slower than technology. So if we wait for the governments, not just nationally but internationally, to come together and work, it will be probably be too late. Usually it happens after big catastrophes. Look at the United Nations after World War II tragedy, and these kind of things. So in this case, we need to see how the private sector, big corporates, joining forces, and they have the power, because they are the first line of not just defense, of friction with this AI thing. And the big corporates need to come and put some of their own business consideration aside after ethical considerations. And I see and hear more and more discussions and more talks about doing that. We need to make sure it happens, because, yes, the opportunities are enormous, but also the dangers.
You have extensive, of course, experience in cybersecurity internationally, but also in Israel. And you also presented at your keynote that Israel has a very impressive sort of investment in cybersecurity. Is it close to almost 50% of the global investment?
40%.
40%.
Yes.
So that's very high. So tell us some of the successes. What make it such a successful, story, and what are you guys doing in Israel to address all these AI cybersecurity issues?
Well, it comes together. Well, first of all, Israel is mostly good in managing risks, because our environment, our neighborhood, what we do since day one, even before day one of the Israel state, independent states, it's about countering dangers and managing risks. So this is the leading force of Israel. So when the cybersecurity evolved, even the first steps, already the Israeli national security apparatus, the military, they were in because of the dangers or countering dangers coming from outside regarding that. We cannot allow ourselves to lose any single battle. So that brings a lot of efforts, government and less government, to build the strongest tools in order to defend ourselves.
Yeah.
We don't have any second chance. So when the IT come, that brings another opportunities to Israel, because you don't need tanks, you don't need geographical strategic territory.
That's right.
You just need good minds. And in Israel, we have good minds that are brought together and build this thing. Another thing is the compulsory, mandatory military service. Mm-hmm. Every 18 years old, boys and girls are getting to the military. And in the past 15 years or so, we are recruiting them with already 10, 12 years of experience at the age of 18 in computers, sometimes in hacking. Okay. And in Israel, it's a known secret, for 10 years or even more, the first draft of these teenagers getting to age of 18 and coming to the military, first draft is for the cyber units, not Air Force, not the squads, the commando squads, no, cyber. After taking the best, the most fitted to the cyber, then the other gets. So you get the best with 12 years experience, and then you train them and give them license to do whatever military and security apparatuses are doing. And after 4 or 5 years of service, most of them go out to the free private sector. And they discover that whatever they've done and learned and did with the license for the government, now they can easily shift to defense, to countermeasures, and make a lot of money out of it. And this is the numbers that you saw, that the 40% of global investment in Israel and billions of dollars, because it works. They don't need to learn a new business. They are already experts with 15 or 16 years of experience, real life experience in what they like, and they can make money out of it. That's amazing. Today I'm mentoring and advising to more than 15 startups and companies. It's hard for me to say no, to resist offers coming from such a good entrepreneurs or ideas or combination of them. Only in cybersecurity, only Israeli, and we see a lot all the time.
That's amazing.
Because Israelis are less reluctant or less fear to fail. They're not looking for failures, but some of my best startups I escort, one of them became unicorn, already failed once or twice. No problem. You learn from your failures, you learn from your mistakes, now you can be much better. And Israel, the thing is confidence. Let's try, let's do something, and if it doesn't work, okay, we'll try something else.
The entrepreneurial spirit, isn't it?
Yes, yes.
Right?
In cyber, it's critical because you'll probably fail many times.
That's right, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, they say that the attacker only need to be right once, and we all have to be right every single time. So So you need this kind of approach in order to build strong capabilities. And then you get the confidence, and then you get the capabilities, and you become what Israel become. So tell us, what are you guys discussing in terms of how you guys are discussing the AI cybersecurity issues in Israel?
Well, AI in cybersecurity basically divided into 3 major elements in AI in cyber. First, it's for the attackers.
Yes.
And there we learned the potential, and we see more and more uses of AI by the attackers.
Yes.
Second, by the defenders.
Yes, exactly.
AI basically is taking what a man, a human can do, and do it much, much faster. Not necessarily better, but faster. So if it's checking information and data and collecting it and analyzing it, it will do it much faster. So that's why you can write in ChatGPT a question and immediately get the answer.
That's right, yeah.
Yes, you can hire a bunch of a team that will do that. It will take them a little longer and maybe not best, but that's one thing. So when we talk about cybersecurity and cyber technology, it replaces a lot of teams,
Yes.
a lot of people that look for vulnerabilities, or look how to build a patch, or to screen. And this is the upper side of AI in cybersecurity. And there's also a third field, which is AI against or versus AI. It's called adversarial AI. And it's not using AI to the traditional cybersecurity. Funny to call traditional something that is only 12 or 13 years on the road. But it's a field by itself of how to use AI to detect or to hit another AI algorithms. And it's too easy. It's too easy. You can confuse machine learning algorithms too easy because it's imitating human behavior. And like you can do to humans, and hackers are doing that, you can do also to machines that imitate human behavior. And that's something that we see more and more, and unfortunately we're going to see much more. Yes. So these three areas are something that many Israeli startups and companies already invested in or built small divisions or open startups only dedicated for that.
So I guess we can, as ordinary public citizens, we can be rest assured that all these innovations coming out from Israel to protect us from adversarial AI.
Hopefully.
That's right, jesting aside, I'm aware that we are coming to the end of our podcast, but I just want to get your thoughts, given your extensive experience as the CISO of Israel for so long. What are the 3 lessons that we can take from your experience?
Well, first of all, don't rely and don't wait for regulations. The legislation and regulation is always slower and coming way after the real problem is there in cybersecurity. So don't wait for regulations. Don't wait to be asked to follow protocol, because there will not be protocol when you get hit. Be before that. Look for voluntary regulations. Most of the governments publish that. Second, partnerships. Whenever, wherever, with whomever you can do partnerships internally with your competitors and with the other peers globally, build partnerships, invest in partnerships in cybersecurity. It can save lives, because the nature of this pandemic is global, or entire sectors. So if you're an energy sector entity and you're connected to all other energy sectors around the globe, if something hits them, you just can count 1, 2, 3. At 4, it will hit you. So you'd better be connected and know what hit them and how to mitigate it. And third, last but not least, we have a long list, but backup. It sounds silly, but too many organizations, they're not doing backup correctly or properly. And they're using a hot backup when they need to use also cold backup. And most important, exercise recovery from backup. Many times I met with the board members, with chairmen, with CEOs, and asked them about it. They say, yeah, we have backup. And I asked them, okay, when was the last time you exercised recovering it? Oops, never. Why it's important? Because when something hits your fan and it's getting downside, you ask for the backup recovery, and you find out like any biological mechanism, or it needs adjustment. It's not exactly what you planned, because it's changing all the time.
That's right.
So every quarter, at least, you need to it's wasting
recovery,
time, and your
Yes,
IT guys will not be happy.
Yeah.
But once you exercise and you fix the problems while bringing up from recovery, okay, if you get hit, you may lose 1 or 2 business days of data, but that's it. You can sleep very well at night knowing that, okay, you are backed up. And it's not about cybersecurity, it's about business continuity.
Yeah, it's about having the discipline, isn't it?
Yes, and business continuity, that no matter what happens, you can still work, you still can operate. That's the main issue. So do these 3 things and you'll be much better prepared for.
So 3 things: don't wait for regulations, partnerships, and backup.
Yes.
Right, okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you
for your time. Thank you.
Thank you.